Rosetta Stone here. The Rosetta Stone. Have you heard lectures recently on archaeology in the scripture? You probably studied that. Archaeology is a fairly new science. You know that. And it used to be that they'd find all these things, but nobody could speak the language. So, without knowing the languages, you're sort of stuck. Well, in 1798, one of Napoleon's men in the North Africa campaign found a stone. And I've forgotten the dimensions. It's not huge. It occurs to me that it's around 3 feet by about 2 feet. That's pretty close. And on that stone, shaped kind of weird, there were, I hope I get this right, there were 3 kinds of languages, and one was Greek. Now, if you studied this recently, correct me if I'm wrong, there were 2 other. The Rosetta Stone and the Behiston Rock, Sir Henry Rawlinson, just opened up archaeology to us. So here there were 2 other languages, I think a Demotic script and maybe Egyptian hieroglyphs, I'm not sure. Yeah, hieroglyphs for sure.
Egyptian hieroglyphs, I think it was
Latin. Was it Latin?
I thought it was crypto. I think you're right, I think it was Demotic.
Was Demotic script? Well, you can look it up in 5 seconds. But here, a lot of people spoke Greek, and somebody theorized correctly that these inscriptions all said the same thing. So if you know what one is, you might be able to figure out the Demotic script and the hieroglyphs, and that's what happened. Now here's the amazing thing, we're talking about Paris tonight. There was a boy in Paris, I think he was 12. His name was Francois Champollion, and scholars all over the world tried to figure out what this meant. And this kid started to work on it, and when he was 16 years old, he had translated those other 2, he had figured out those other 2 languages. That's a smart cookie. Now, the point of all this is, yes, it was a tribute to Ptolemy V. This has to do with this Ptolemy in the intertestamental period. But the larger picture is, now we have a key to understanding the ancient past because these other 2 languages have been figured out. And if you can see, if you either put this in your notes just for fun, put in someplace the Behiston Rock. The Behiston, that's an N, the Behiston Rock, and the name Sir Henry Rawlinson. Rawlinson stood on a little ledge, I think it was 8 inches wide, and here was this magnificent, enormous, big thing carved into this rock, and it showed a battle scene and had different languages, I think again 3 or 4 languages, and he made rubbings and got this translated and opened up archaeology later than this date. It was 1845 or 6, I think. You can check it out. But with those 2 keys, we began to be able to translate some of this stuff and figure it out. So when you hear about the Rosetta Stone, this is when it was found, but the intertestamental period is what it had to do with. And it opened up languages. It's really an extraordinary story. So check me out on those names and dates, but I think I think those are correct. And my notes here say 1799, but I believe it was 1798 when this thing was discovered. And it became a key to reading Egyptian inscriptions. Oh, here it is. Black granite, 4 feet by 2.5 feet. And here they are, hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek capitals. All right. When in doubt, look at your nose. Look at your nose. That inscription, made about 200 BC, is a deification of Ptolemy V. That's what I wanted to get at. Deification of Ptolemy V by Egyptian priests. So it's saying to Ptolemy V, thanks a lot, God, by these Egyptian priests for you've taken good care of us, you've done favors in matters of current events and so forth. Well, if you make in your notes then, again in your notes, that Cleopatra is the last of the Ptolemies, and that'll bring us to the Seleucids who destroyed the Ptolemies in a battle, and I think that's where we'll just stop tonight. I'm about worn out, and I think you probably are too. So we'll pick up tomorrow with the Seleucids, but before we leave, questions? We have any questions? Are we seeing the story here? And I'm trying to tie it into Scripture. as we go along, so you can make some application in your churches with your lessons and sermons, whatever. All right, tomorrow we'll do the Seleucids, the Maccabean Revolt. That's gonna be most of our time, our 2 hours tomorrow. Then we'll look at the Roman Empire. All righty, Terry, come up here and tell us what's going on.
All right, so, you told us at the beginning